Hello, my name is Frances Fox. I'm a trained remote viewer specializing in interspecies communication, all the psychic skills. Developed a degree in political science. We are in really exciting times, and I am not a positive person because I'm a Cancer astrologically, but I am an information expert. And when there's positive information, I'm going to give it happily. I'll go over the map in a few minutes. It looks great for the United States. But let's go into gossip first. My life is like a telenovela. What is a telenovela? A lot of you know that because I think they started using that expression on series that were very dramatic, male, female, all sorts of drama, melodrama, the kind of thing that you can laugh at, but apparently people like it. Certainly the Hispanic population loves the telenovelas. I think that's what keeps the stations alive. And they started doing it in English, and it was a success. So the telenovela, my telenovela, that's other dimensional. By the way, Univision did a series that was a person that lost their life, and then they reincarnated, and that was what it was a series, like As the World Turns. Very interesting. So today, last night and today, I have done so much that my head is a little bit scrambled. That's in addition to 5 consecutive days of radiation hours at night. So every morning I have to pull myself back together and start to repair. But I'm not sure it's going to happen very much longer. So today we after this chat yesterday and today we did the purifications of the anger and the fear in the Mideast. We had something miraculous happen yesterday, and you're going to be able to witness this because it's on YouTube, on yesterday's chat today. You know how I always show the gold dress? The gold dress is changing colors. It now has green at the bottom. It's like a very light Nile green, but it's green. And the first person that said it on the chat, because they always ask me to show it after we do a little while, because when we start the chats, we see the dress a particular color. And then when we finish the chats, it's shining gold and white. Obviously, we got a healing. Our vibration was raised by working and reducing world hatred and fear. Our vibration raises. We get better, which is the wonderful thing. As I was explaining this afternoon, the age of Pisces, when the Bible was the book for this part of the world, and Jesus Christ, that's basically over. In the age of Pisces, they slapped you, you turned the other cheek. If you had something and you were charitable, you gave it to somebody, but then you got left with nothing. We're not in that age anymore. When we do the mantras, and when you do the mantras, you're helping other people if the mantra is for other people, for world peace or whatever, but you get a healing. We're in it all together. So at the end of last night, it was not difficult to reduce the fire. There was something weird going on there. And somebody said the bottom of it has green. The bottom can't have green. It did. The stripes on the bottom have like a Nile green. And then as we were talking about it, and we were so happy that we had achieved a grounding of the reality of that dress. Green is earth grounding. In the Lord's Prayer, it doesn't say deliver us from evil. It says help us to be in the moment, in the present, which is grounded, earth element. And it was changing in front of us on YouTube, on video. And then this morning I did another chat in which I, instead of charging for clearing your liver from the matrix implants from Orion, I decided it's too important, so I'm doing it for free at 12 on Tuesday. You can join. I will clear you too, even if you don't speak Spanish. And I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and continue with the Mideast. And we did for a few minutes, and then we changed. I changed the chat, and I opened a new one just for purifying the Mideast. The gold dress, it was like a circus in front of our eyes on camera. The gold dress is no longer the same. It has changed. Now, I'm kind of afraid to put it here, but I will in a few minutes for us to look at it. Anyway, but what is the telenovela part of that? In the beginning of the chat, in my hallway, which now I realize there's a portal in my hallway. That's why Adam Schiff, and my handler are able to get there. And that's why they stand there. There's a portal in and out of dimensions, but they were both in a box, which I had put them in, but separately. But they were both in the box together, and they were fighting each other. I mean, they were like going at each other. And I asked the people in the chat, and I kind of knew, but when you can't really read your own things, you can read them, but you can't really, don't bank on what you got, because you have a filter, which is yourself. Okay. So I asked the chat, and they said they're both fighting because they both want to get to you, and they want to get the other person out of the way. What does it mean, get to Francis? They've apparently been living off of my energy. We don't know how long, and it is all through those mind strings. If you have sex with somebody, your mind streams insert into the other person. You have 72,000 of these. That's in Buddhism, but it doesn't matter. I got that information also. The mind streams are also in the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic and in a lot of other places. So when you have sex with somebody, some of your mind streams goes into that person, and some of their mind streams goes into you. The problem is it's a channel, and it goes both ways. But the black magicians on the planet 2.5 years ago, I just made that up. It could have been decades ago. They may have known this for centuries. I don't know. These men who are at the top of the heap in terms of mind control in the United States, I believe Schiff over my handler, both of whom had sex with each other. Neither of them is supposed to be gay. I have no problem with gay. I'm not gay, but I have no problem with it. I do have a problem with people being hypocrites. Okay, so they were fighting each other because each of them needs to reinsert in me, not via the act of sex, because you can do that without it being the act of sex. And that's what the mind control people, the cult people, the Diddy people, that's what they learn to do. You do it mainly through sex. The more perverted, the better, because if it's perverted sex, you're like, which means you draw in your mind streams, you lose your protection, and they can insert it deeper, the mind streams, and other things. So they're there. And it was a long time. The chat was long. So I finally decided to go after them, which I did. And they were kind of going down the stairs. I could be dramatic and say they were tumbling down the stairs. And I ended the chat and I said, listen, I need to take care of this because this is a problem. And it is possible that I took care of both of them in the sense of Xing them out. It is possible. But I have said this several times before, and it turned out that they pop up again. They're like indestructible. So that's my telenovela. Now, last night again, the radionics machines. But what came out today in my chat is the University of Miami. Oh, one of the people that I had kind of run into that had those machines when I lived in a different place in Coral Gables was associated with the University of Miami experiments with microwave. Well, it turns out they're experimenting on all of us. A lot of things happened today in Miami, including a very big explosion someplace near the Miami River. It just happened, so I don't actually know what. That's my dog. I gave him an empty box, which he loves. He'll chew it apart. Um, so you may be finding a lot of things changing in Miami. I think you're going to find a lot of people changing directions. What I heard in the end of the afternoon was somebody, I think it was the University of Miami, saying, you know what? We should have dropped this a long time ago. We're not going to be able to keep her down. It was referring to me. And guess what? I'm going to go to the beach. So I will be either on Key Biscayne or I'll be in the Florida Keys, which is where we all go when we want to go to the beach. We don't stay inside Miami. We go, and Key Biscayne is very mafia. He said, that's it. I give up. We can't. Once you take away the frequency radiation, people wake up. They can actually see things. They can actually see things. They can actually hear things. They can read something and actually know what it says. I don't know how much more radiation there's going to be in Miami because I think that these people kind of folded today. And I don't know if it was my hopefully taking down Schiff and my handler, if it was me saying on camera, the University of Miami needs, you know what, they don't need to get looked into. They need to get rated. Okay? Oh, we're just doing a little research on microwave. Who are you researching? If it's puppies, I don't like it either. It's not just puppies. Actually, on Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, there was a person standing on the corner on US 1 that identified the University of Miami as using radiation weapons. He had a big sign like this and he was standing on the corner, and I was like, okay, I hear you, I know it, but how are you getting away with this? I don't know what that was all about, but it was on a corner. I have a photograph of it. I cannot find it now to show it to you. But it identified another place also, one of the kind of places that have those names that sound like a setup. Um, Operation Save Americans. Anytime you hear those kind of names, you just go, that's a setup. That's a setup. We're not going to be so brain dead anymore. People are not going to be getting away with stuff. And you're going to see a lot of scrambling in Miami, South Florida, not just Miami, South Florida. But this I'm talking about is Miami. Anyway, the good news was, and it really is good news, if we can identify the places where they're doing things that make us less than human, as we're going into the age of Aquarius, where we can be more than human, we can be super gods, which is, we were always told that in the Bible. It says, what is it, a grain of salt or a grain of rice can move a mountain. And we can. And that is what I'm here for, to teach white magic, so that, because black magic works. It works. So does white magic. So that's what we have to learn so that we can make our lives easier and more exciting. We don't have to work as much, and we achieve our super potentials, our human potential that was always there. Of course, the big guys, the power players, don't want that. They want us to be little followers. And there's a statement that I made with my book, which hasn't gotten out yet, but you have it in my book, Creation Will Please. We were constructed to create. Our mind, which are these mind strings, these strings that there's 72,000 of, but they can extend even to off planet, into other people, other countries, other whatever. Those are our instruments for creation. In the center of us, we have the center axis, which is where our intentions are, and then 72,000 mind streams that work with the four elements and they create reality. We were constructed to create, and then we were instructed to obey. The young kids are not so great at the obedience thing, which is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. Savi Mantrita, my necklace is in my bra. I wear always that necklace, but man, it looked god awful with this necklace. And I didn't want to have to keep changing clothes, so I just stuck it in my bra. It needs to be around my neck. So, Adam Schiff, we will see, but he cannot be as operational. And if we have Adam Schiff, which let's say he's the head of all this mind control stuff, which means he would know all about the Diddy thing. Do you remember in a chat, I don't know how long ago, do you remember where I said that I went to a conference on intuition? Very highly respected, very. And I sat next to a man and we all introduced ourselves. He ended up being the guy that was in charge of the Division of Psychological Warfare of the Army after the Second World War. That was the program that controlled me. I didn't have a conniption fit. I didn't actually know how to feel to sit next to this guy, which I would have never met. He was at the top of this Army program of psychological warfare that ended up in mind control. And let me tell you what his job was when I met him. He was into making movies in Hollywood. Well, you know how you watch a series, Hawaii Five-O? It's a great series. My grandson would watch it, and I loved to watch it with him a long time ago. And then, they went CIA on me. And then one of the guys had to go back because he had people in Afghanistan or in Vietnam. I have no idea. And the whole thing went dark. The thing with Hawaii Five-O, it was a group and they loved each other. They took care of each other. They were police and it was detective. It was really nice. And then it went dark. And then the whole killings and the falling in love with the really wrong guy and the dark. And I went, okay, well, that's it. But there's a couple of other series that started out and they were kind of okay. And then they got darker and darker and darker and darker. Well, there was a focused intention to take Hollywood down in order to take down this country. And they did it because by the time I started to talk in the 90s, I said, why are people glamorizing the CIA? Why are they glamorizing spies? I did that. It's horrible. I'm still paying a ton of money for therapy. They turn out, everybody ends up being damaged goods. And we have the kids adoring it. Oh my God. But it was glamorized by Hollywood via the of the Army, the Division of Psychological Warfare. Trump, can somebody be on their doorstep tomorrow at 8? That would be really good. Pick them all up. If you don't have time because there's a war going on, can you send somebody else? You know what? Maybe it's a little bit late. So then we have these people that are specialists in psychology, blackmail, rape, then psychology, know how to handle the mind. They have information on the mind that the psychologists and psychiatrists don't have because they paid for it. They funded it in universities and never told them what the research was going to be used together with. I just mentioned yesterday, they did some of this at McGill University in Canada, which is where Kamala Harris went, or at least that's what was in some documentary on her. And what a coincidence that today, because a group of Canadians did sue the US government, it was very controlled suing. I mean, the government was behind it. And they were suing for their mothers that went in to the psychiatrist because they were depressed. And then they did all these experiments on them and they totally trashed the person, not to be recuperated. And they were compensated a little bit, but that was 20 years ago. It was in the news either today or yesterday after I said it, but I'm not saying it has anything to do with the fact that I talked about it. But so Department of the Army, Division of Psychological Warfare, mind control, Diddy, my handler, Schiff, where does he fit in there? I think he fits in all the way at the top. He's got to have, he has to have a control. But I'm not even going after that. I'm not interested, because if you take down all, if you inform people and you take down the people that actually do the work, such as my handler and Schiff, then basically the whole program can collapse. But people have got to see the connection between black magic, sexual abuse, perversions, the US military, mind control. All of that's connected. It's all connected. And then you have, including myself, I have a jacket that when I wear it, I said I feel like I'm ready for war. It's like a camouflage fabric. We glamorize something that killed people, and we give it to our kids. What do we expect? And then we give them the games where they're killing, which I am in the process of getting a mini game made with the movements of the mind when you have an intention. I have no idea what it's going to look like. It cost me a bit of money, not that much because it's only 1 minute long, but it will be the start for people to see how their intentions pop out vectors. Thank you, Elon. He was the one who, I mean, I see him. To me, it's a triangle. He was talking about everybody in a company being a vector for that company. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Because I have a zillion issues. And of course, I have a zillion issues having to do with communication. And then I have programming, and I have a programming that does not allow me to remember names of people and does not allow me to remember lots of things that might be important to make me sound even better than I sound when I speak. So, anyway, it's my personality, you can say, which it is at this point. So, today's a banner day. From last night to today's a banner day. So why did we need bad things to happen? Why did the Mantrista movement need for there to be a potential war? So that we would do what we did for the protest on Saturday. There was no fire. The country was not on fire. And I have to say that I am going to claim a lot of credit for that. I have held back for 7 years. We've accomplished incredible things. And I have never, I've said, we don't know. We think we contributed. It certainly looked like. I am going to claim credit for for the fact, a lot of it cannot be 100% that the fire was reduced. So last night, we go after the whole thing with the potential war. And we do such a good job with the mantra for reducing not just fire, not just hatred, but fear. And I think maybe I haven't addressed the fear enough. Maybe because I am so full of fear, I don't even feel it most of the time. My kidneys do, but I don't feel it. But I had to live with it. So, and then we have the gold dress changing in front of our eyes. That's magic. So, we're going to look at that now. We're going to look at it first. And remember that this is the mantra that I wrote an entire book on, which I will get the cover for, which I don't have here. Oh, here it is. No, I have it in Spanish here, but that's okay because it's in English. It's Creation, World Peace, and it's on my Shopify, my store, and it's also on Amazon. And it has the mantra and it has the music. What am I looking for here? The gold dress. Here we go. Okay. It's not looking very green. It was the lower, at this level. I don't know if you can see me, my hand. Basically at this level where my thumb is pointed at. See if I can do that. That, the white was a green. It's not a green right now. I do see a lot of pink here. It's not a green. Oh, it's changing. Let's go ahead and do the mantra And I'm going to leave the dress on camera in case we can get the same thing to happen here. But it happens already because I put the gold dress in the beginning and you see it, and then I put it at the end and you see it, and you see it different. It changed. But in this case, today and last night, it was changing right in front of us. There was no space in between. Okay, let me put the mantra on, okay? This is very exciting. Now, this is the mantra, and right now we're talking about the Mideast. And I'm going to put the trilling Fox sensory video on, which is this one. And go ahead, let's do it 10 minutes, but I'm going to read. I see the dress changing. There's a lot more pink from the waist down, and then when you get to the thighs, it's changing into like a light, very light green. Can you see it? Were you able to see the pale mint? Remembering that some people see it bronze and blue, the entire dress, and that's because the frequency is not so great. So you do a big purification, and then all of a sudden, the same dress, same picture, you see it bright gold and white. And a lot of times we've been seeing like a pink veneer over it, very light, but today it was incredible. But remember, the last, I did that experiment for 7 minutes with this mantra and with this music. And I'm going to put, because this is what we realized. Do you see the green coming up from the ground up into the person? That was from doing this mantra that we just did with this music that we just listened to and the images. It's not just the music, the images are also an influence on your frequency. And then we have the canopy that formed, that was not, it didn't form until she did the music sound therapy. Now, I am not sure that if you don't do this mantra by itself without anything but the mantra, that you might not be able to achieve the same effect in a longer space of time. I don't know. I haven't been able to do that. But there was something. Okay. So this that's coming up is what I believe is making this gold dress have that green veneer here at the bottom. And maybe most of you cannot see it, but you will eventually be able to see it. It's really very exciting to watch something change before your very eyes. We're in the, already we have done a big part of our ascension process. So even if a war breaks out in the Middle East and there's nuclear bombs thrown all over the place, basically what's going to happen is there will be a finishing of the separation of planet Earth and its people into two separate planets. And we're not going to be living in caves, from what I understand. The people that get left on the planet that have the heavy energy, that see that dress as blue and bronze, may end up living in caves. But if you can see it, the gold and the white, and if you can now see the Nile green coming up or a veneer of pink or lavender, you're not going to be living in caves. It doesn't matter how many nuclear bombs are thrown. We're in a different time. And this is not a storyline. And this is definitely not information coming just from me. So that's it. We did it. We will see you again. Pay attention to Miami. There should be many, 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 many things happening in Miami that are kind of weird. There was an explosion. I checked X while you were doing the mantra. There's nothing on it. I don't think it was that big a deal. But it's going to be a very different vibe in Miami. And the rats need to find big rocks to hide under, or they just need to skip town. And the guy from the University of Miami, I think I'll just, you know what? I'm calling it quits. I'm going to go to Key Biscayne or to the Keys and whatever. That's what you think, mister. There is no whatever. There is no whatever. There are consequences. And it's not that I want everybody to be put in jail. But it's not that simple. You can't just go off to the beach and think you're going to get away with it, because that's not going to happen under my watch. Having to do with mind control, which it turns out is the biggest topic in this country. The whole Diddy thing, the whole Epstein thing, the people being great when they start out and then they end up being kind of like animals at the end. The biggest thing, if you can get your head wrapped around that, whoa, and you'll understand how important it is to address the issue of human magic. If you know the rules of the game, you can work them in your favor. White magic, good intentions.